The meeting is being recorded by Norton Media. If anyone else is recording, please just let us know. First up on the agenda is public comment period. This is again one of our new things. We did introduce it at our last meeting. We're trying to give a little bit of time in the beginning of each meeting for public comment. Anyone going to say anything? Go ahead, Peter. Yep. Just Peter, when you come off, for anybody, just announce your name and where you live in town.
Peter J. Williams, 157 Mets Ave, Trail 43, North Massachusetts, and your Mary Norton. And I'd like to wish everyone at the Norton schools a happy, safe 2025, and this could be a good year in town.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. No one else, so we will move on. Next up is the vote to approve the meeting minutes of December 11th, 2024. Do everyone get a chance to review those minutes? Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those pass 5-0. Next up is warrants. Mrs. Cohen.
I've reviewed and approved the following warrants: school expense warrants, December 11th, 2024, $1,141,887.92. School payroll warrants, November 27th, 2024, $1,164,262.70, and December 12th, 2024, $1,216,403.02. I wish to enter this into public record.
Thank you. Next up is student rep update.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to start with the Yale. This month is the build up to our Hey PTO Boosterthon Fun Glow Run, which happens on Thursday, the 30th. A tremendous day of school pride and fun. This year our goal of fundraising is again $20,000. It is so incredible to see the amazing generosity and support of our Yale community. This is Mr. Gagan's 7th year at the Hay, and each year the community outdoes itself and raises such phenomenal funds for us to do some fantastic things, like the needed and necessary upgrade of our playground, the purchase and refilling of the broken vending machine, bringing in assemblies, yearbooks, classroom upgrades, and so much more. The Boosterthon program, though it not just being their only fundraiser, the Boosterthon on-site rep will go into each class every day to talk about a character trait, spark more interest and incentives in the fun run, and also have fun with the students at lunch and recess. As we say, the whole month becomes Boosterthon Glow Run, and it is something that kids will always treasure from their Yale experience.
And then from the high school, Norton High School had a smooth transition back from break. Before break, we had many celebrations, events, and instances of community service. The Math Honor Society worked with several town organizations to sponsor a toy drive, while the Spanish and French Honor Societies traveled to the nursing home to do some caroling. A huge congratulations is due to concert chorus, rock band chorus, and a cappella groups who put on a wonderful holiday concert. The Lancer Theater Company rehearsals for Little Shop of Horrors have started with the show being the first weekend in April. Winter sports are well underway with almost every team to a very successful start. NHS with 70 plus students leaving tomorrow to go to Hyannis for 2 days of competition and District A competition for DECA. They have been working extremely hard to prepare, and we wish them the best of luck.
I also wanted to add on a personal note, it's been really cool to see. This is the biggest chapter of kids that we've had for DECA this year. So around 70 kids, which is 20% from last year. So we're hoping to have a lot of kids qualify for states. We broke a lot of records for Norton last year, but we've been preparing very diligently since September until now, until this evening here at the high school working with some kids. But they're really excited, and we're excited to report back to you guys.
Awesome, thank you very much. Student Spotlight, Dr. O'Neill.
Okay, thank you. Tonight I have the privilege of sharing with you 49 of our current seniors, the class of 2025. 49 students received the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. This scholarship is good for 4 years of tuition at any Massachusetts State University or community college. Just tuition, not room and board as well, but it is definitely a great opportunity for these students. In order to qualify for the Adams Scholarship, students had to score advanced on at least one of the 3 MCAS assessments, math, ELA, or science, and then they had to achieve either advanced or proficient scores on the other 2 assessments. and they also had to have scores that placed them in the top 25% of their graduating class. I'm not going to read the names here tonight because there's quite a few of them, but I will be publishing this in my newsletter later this week. So congratulations to all these students, and I'm excited for that because it's a great opportunity for cutting down the cost of college as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just quick math here. I think there's 12 names, 4 columns. So if you do the math correct, 48, 49 students, I think, total.
Yeah, 49 total.
Pretty good math, huh? So yeah, great job. And,
I counted earlier.
And Jen just
Oh, you said it too?
Yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Callahan.
Next is vote to approve Norton Middle School field trip to New York City. Mr. Goldstein.
Well, to show the protocol, so I suppose I'll just come up here. So, first time to do it, right? It's very nice, must say. But that's not why I'm here tonight. I am coming here for the annual approval from you folks all regarding our annual 8th grade trip to New York City. And so this will be the 7th time that we've done this. Would be more, but obviously the pandemic years, we missed a few years. So our itinerary is essentially the same. And so we found that the things we've been doing with the students the last several years, they definitely seem to enjoy. It's a long day, it's a great day, and really the whole idea is just to continue making memories for students, and and we really get a ton of tremendous positive feedback when we do this trip. And so, and I'm thankful that we have, the staff who's willing to go do this, because it's obviously a very long day for them, and but we are thankful that we have the staff who are willing to step up year in and year out. And some teachers have been there every single year, and for them, for those people, I'm very grateful, because it can't really happen without them. And so the date of our trip is a little bit controversial in the sense that it is June 6th, and I know that June 6th is tentatively scheduled to be graduation. However, go ahead, Dr. Dale, sorry.
Graduation is not able to be June 6th because of the Xfinity schedule, correct, Dr. Donovan?
To the best of our knowledge, I think that's correct, yes.
You're safe?
Okay, so, which is one of the reasons why I thought I ultimately would be safe. And also, it just so happens that some things we had to book, I could not get availability on other days, so it all kind of worked out fortuitously, I suppose. So, but that is the date of it this year, it's June 6th. And so, crossing our fingers, hoping we get awesome weather, because we always have, so, that would. So, any questions?
Nope. All good. Thank you very much. Please be safe. It's been a crazy world out there.
Thanh you.
School committee has to vote because it's not out of state.
Perfect. Well, obviously you have to take a vote. I will accept a motion to approve. So moved.
Second.
Good, back on the same page. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next up is acknowledgement and vote to accept equipment donation. Ms. Wright.
Good evening. My name is Alexandra Wright. I'm the Director of Music at Norton High School. I'm here tonight to request approval for a donation for specific performance microphones for the NHS music program by the beautiful and wonderful Bressler family. Miles Bressler is a senior this year, and he is my only student who is involved in all of my ensembles, which includes concert chorus, concert band, a cappella choir, rock band, drama club, and he's taking a semester of guitar. So his family has generously offered to donate some more performance-specific microphones. The microphones that we currently have are usually just directional microphones, and if you've ever spoken in the NHS auditorium, you know what I mean. You have to be about this close to it in order for sound to get through, which is great for presenters and soloists, but not great for choir or band, where you need it to be a little bit more spread out. So they are offering to donate 2 condenser microphones, which have a wider cardioid polar pattern that allow more sound to get in. It balances the choir voices as well as bands, and we will also be able to use it for our theater program as well. We started a new a cappella program this year, and again, it's just with the wider bass, it just balances the voices so much better. We've also had outside performers from Tufts University and Wheaton College that have come, and I would love to, in the future, have the equipment to support their performances as well. To list all of the items, the Bressler family would like to donate 2 condenser microphones, XLR cables, on-off switch adapters, stands for the microphones, and pop filters. This donation is valued at over $500. The family would like to purchase the listed items from Amazon and Sweetwater Music, and then donate the items to the high school. I would love to accept this donation because it would be something that would be out of my current budget, and I think it will enhance what the students get out of the program as well. Accepting this donation not only strengthens the music program in Norton, but I just think it'll be above and beyond what I'm able to do now, and I hope you feel the same way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions, concerns? I think this is...
Assuming it's going to fit with our current setup of what we have as far as
Yes.
electronically, okay, that
Yes.
would be my only concern is
Yeah.
we're getting all these nice things and we can't.
I was fortunate enough, they actually have the same microphones that they want to purchase for us. They run the church on Pine Street, so we were able to borrow the exact setup they're going to donate to us, and it worked like a dream, so I'm very excited.
Love that. Great. So I think this is a no-brainer, but I do think we have to vote, so vote to accept the equipment donation. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
All those in favor? Sorry, second by Justine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
It's not easy when you're doing
All right, next is review and vote to approve the Norton High School new course proposal. Dr. Dolman and Mrs. Searcy.
All right. We had worked this out ahead of time.
I like
so
walking
we'll
the
see
back.
So just to give you an idea, every year we do sort of solicit our staff to propose new courses that are in line with where we hope that our vision is going. In this case, we looked at the Vision 2026 and also looked at some of the needs of our students based on the programming that we have. We have 3 courses this year to bring forward, one of which, the first one I'll talk about, is the Advanced Manufacturing course. And this one's been a couple of years in the making. As part of our innovation pathway, we have to offer technical courses that give students the pre-professional skills that they'll need going forward if they were to enter a job in advanced manufacturing. Our teacher, Carrie Murphy, proposed this. She actually did an externship this summer for, I think, 4 weeks. She worked at an advanced manufacturing facility, learning about some of their tools, those types of things. We've been able to purchase a lot of these tools over the past couple of years through grants for the innovation pathway, a CNC router machine, 3D printers, a cobot arm, 3D scanner, those things that we can then use in order to basically be able to make stuff, which is what advanced manufacturing is all about. We actually had a tour today, like as far as where we're going to situate it within our existing space in the shop. So rather than just fabricating wood, we'll be doing plastics and possibly metal as well. And really the course will take place there, give students the skills to operate all the machinery, to figure out sort of how the workshop should flow, and then from there engage in individual projects that are based on advanced manufacturing. Eventually, part of their internships or capstone projects with other manufacturers will be to go out, have some type of problem or challenge from that course, from that company, bring it back to the school, and actually try to design solutions to those problems. So the course here is designed really to give students those skills. It'll be a semester long. Any student within the pathway will take it, but it'll also be open to students who are not in the innovation pathway as well. You wanna do next one?
Sure. So the next one was personal finance. I think this has been something that a number of people have talked about over the years. Yeah, I know, Dan, I know. So that is going to be run by our business department. They chose to take this on. I know some folks have asked, is a financial analysis class that runs for seniors. It's a little bit different. That's more focused more on the math end of it, and it's a little higher. This is more about those basic life choices, thinking about careers, understanding how, your career leads to money and how you invest that money, where the money goes, budgeting. It's more of that kind of broad knowledge that they can carry forward. So it'll be part of the business pathway, or part of the business program, not part of the pathway, but under the business department. So I know it's been something that's been in the works for a while, and I think it's a really good opportunity for kids at any level. And it will be offered to freshmen to seniors.
Currently, our financial analysis class is for seniors only, so this would be open to anybody. So if they're taking calculus their senior year, they'd still be able to do this personal finance course as it goes forward. And then our final course is also in the business department, advanced marketing. And this is really in response to trends that are seen in local schools, colleges, and definitely through the DECA program, seeing that there's a lot more interest in going into marketing and learning some of those skills. And so in this case, it would be an extension of our current marketing offerings, basically a marketing 2 to a marketing 1, as well as you could take sports and entertainment marketing as well leading into this marketing class. So really just to expand on that and to provide students with more opportunity to learn some of those skills and to prepare for the next level if they're entering a marketing degree or other business classes in college.
Great. Any questions on the 3 possible new courses?
I just have one question. I know I'm assuming you both look at this year over year, but do we ever remove courses?
We do, and oftentimes we don't run courses. Sometimes we don't remove them from our program of studies because even if it hasn't been taught for a couple of years. But then there might be some type of revival where students become very interested in that, and therefore we don't have to propose a new course. But we do also remove courses from our program of studies when it's sort of the course materials seem obsolete or not really aligned with where we're going in the future.
Yeah, and we meet with the, we'll meet with the excellent coordinators, at about this time, talk about what courses they think, they're gonna be able to run. What we would like to do is really have student voice. So we put them out there, they do their selections, we look at the numbers, and then based on those numbers, we make decisions with the ACs around, okay, which courses we're gonna run this year. Sometimes we run them on an alternate, so they might run one year and not the following year. So we make those decisions, based on student voice, but then also logistics and stuff like that. So.
Okay. I'm real glad to see the personal finance, because having two graduated high school children and one in, I'm like, you guys don't know how to do this? No? Okay. So I think that'll be a great class. I'd love to see it almost mandatory at some point, but.
I was just gonna say, and there's talk that it's gonna be made mandatory.
At the state level,
At the state level, yeah.
I know there was a school district, I forget where,
That's
but
what-
for seniors, they did it like the week after they graduate, but before they walk.
Yeah.
So it's like they're done with school and then they have like a week's worth of time just to go over like stuff like this.
Not exactly that, but yeah.
No, but in one of the schools, we just made it part of their kind of requirements. Not quite there.
Excellent.
My only question is the hands-on portion of the advanced marketing. Is that separate from like internship? Like if they're gonna go out into the community and do actual hands-on marketing?
Yeah, just within the course there, so
Yeah.
they might have people who are looking for some marketing help or something along those lines, but it wouldn't be students who are actually in the internship program would do that. Yeah, they're always looking for authentic projects, and that's definitely something that the business department's been really on the cutting edge of too, and also within the DECA Foundation, they do that as well.
I guess my only question, obviously, with the wonderful budget that we always have gone through, obviously, we wouldn't be hiring new teachers for these courses are taught by current teachers. Is there any cost to adding courses? Would it be moving someone's schedule? Are we going to have to bring in an extra Spanish teacher to do this, whatever, so on and so forth?
No, as Mr. Cersey said, we really put these in the program of studies. Students make selections, and sometimes if a new course is offered, but there's not enough teaching capacity to do it, then we don't run it, unfortunately. But that's basically the decisions we make every year based on where students are at. Some of them, for instance, the advanced manufacturing ones that we kind of need to offer because it's part of the pathway there. So we would reallocate sort of our teacher resources within computer science. So Ms. Murphy basically would teach this rather than a robotics section or rather than a programming section.
Perfect. Any other questions? I mean, I guess my only other comment, I guess, is I think all 3 courses make a whole ton of sense for 2025. I'm completely with Dan on the personal finance, looking student loans, credit card debt, everything that's plaguing this country as what we've seen. And then obviously manufacturing and marketing is just a huge aspect from a higher ed standpoint, and obviously getting involved, even if they just go into the job force. So I think all 3 make a whole ton of sense. I guess the best way to do this is to vote on them individually.
You can vote on all 3 at once if you like,
Okay, good.
unless there's a split vote in some way, shape, or form.
Cool, so let's do all 3 of them. So I will entertain a motion to approve all 3 new courses at the high school.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Trustee. All right. Number 9, discussion and vote on the Norton High School Honor Society fees. Dr. O'Neill.
Okay, thank you. So tonight in your packet, you have some information about the previous school year, so 23-24 school year, and the number of students that were involved in different honor societies, as well as what was collected in stipend, collected in fees from these students, and what was paid out over time. So as you can see, we had a number of students engaged in honor society clubs. The reason we gave you last year's information is because number one, last year there was the cap that was put in place for this. And this year, we still have some moving targets in terms of expenses. We haven't always already put out the number of the expenses that are there. We still have a lot of students that have outstanding fees, so it's hard for us to kind of give you a full picture. So as you know, we have a number of societies. There is no cost to join the National Honor Society. That is free for our students. But all other honor societies, the other 9, I believe it is 1, 2, 3. Yep, thanks. Pay $50 per club. Last year when we were going through our budget process, we removed the cap for families. It used to be a $100 cap each year. So last year we collected $9,500. The stipends that are paid to the advisors are about $16,000, and then each of the honor societies, or many of the honor societies, have memberships for national chapters. You can see that there, and then of course just other expenses, whether it be things for the induction ceremony or along those lines. So we spent about a total of $20,000 last year, which is about twice the amount of money that was taken in through the club fees. I think it's really important to note that a lot of the honor societies also do a lot of fundraising on their own, whether it is selling some sort of product or participating in a fundraiser to keep their organizations going throughout the course of the year. Also, a lot of the honor societies do a lot of volunteer work. It's part of their chapter in most cases. I know like Mu Alpha Theta, which is our math honor society, they do tutoring during LLB. A lot of our students are really giving back their time. So that's a little bit of information there for you regarding what the actual costs were to the district. I had asked Dr. Dolleman to reach out to his job alikes as well to share or collect information about what other high schools are doing. So he reached out to like Hockomock, Valley, TVL, Bay State, Southern Worcester Athletic Leagues. So he had 16 responses. So there are 3 schools that charge, do you mind? Sorry, it's very confusing. And that's why I was like, you need to stay for this part.
Yeah, so my job license is about 34 area principals. It's not like a particular league, but it is all the TVL and other peer schools in the Hockomock around here. So 16 of them got back to me. Only 5 of those 16 have a club fee generally. Of those 5 schools that have club fees, 3 of them charge for honor societies. Then, interestingly enough, there were, of those other 11 that don't have regular club fees, do charge for some of their honor societies, just because they do have dues to national chapters. They have expenses for things like community service, transportation, all those kinds of stuff. So it's kind of a moving target. Clubs, when there are club fees, 60% of them do also charge for honor societies. When there are no club fees, a small portion of them charge for honor societies as well. It was kind of nice to know we do have the most honor societies in this area, which is great because it gives all our students an opportunity to be recognized and really kind of find their spot. But when you're talking about paying $50 per fee, that is difficult as well, since you might basically belong to 4 of them or something along those lines. So that's another thing for us to consider as well.
So I think the conversation that we had was, is this something that we want to continue with in terms of charging the fees? Are there other ways for us to perhaps lessen the burden for families when it comes to fees for honor societies? I know Dr. Dolleman and I were on the phone earlier today just kind of chatting through some of these logistics. And so as he mentioned, Norton High School has the most honor societies. Some places have like a math club or a science club, but it's not necessarily an honor society, which is a great opportunity for our students to be able to put these things on their college applications as well. My recommendation to the committee would be that if we are going to make a change, it would have to be for the following school year, for 25-26, as part of the budget process, only because we really have not budgeted for an increase this year. As we know, we had to make significant cuts last spring in order to balance our budget. But I think it's a great conversation because as we enter another budget season, it reiterates the fact that every decision that we make has an impact on our families.
Trying to get my words together, but so as a parent of a child that was elected to 6 honor societies, it was quite the bill to pay this year because there was no cap. I think I said this at one of the previous meetings, and this is not to be taken as a shot at some of the other, but these clubs are selective in who they allow. This is, to me, I don't like calling these clubs because there's certain stipulations to join. Some of the other clubs, if you show up, you're in the club. And that's not to dissuade any of the other clubs. They do great work. Our students are great in them, but these are a little different. So I think I do agree with Dr. O'Neill that this is something we have to talk about during our budget season. Obviously, the fees, clearly they're not covering what the expenses are, which is, honestly, that's a lot of our fees. They're looking to offset them. So I think this is something we can discuss during our budget season, but I do think we have to look at these societies versus clubs. It was a special night. My whole family was there to see my youngest, my only child in honor societies. My other 2 just weren't there academically, which, they did other interests. So it was a great night. It is quite the spectacle, and I enjoyed it. And I look at my child. She still has 2 more that she can join next year that she just missed a deadline for, so that it's compounding everything. And I think having a lot of those children in that room were multiple honor societies. Like, there was a handful that were 1 or 2, but there was, I would say, over 50% of the children at that night were multiple honor societies. And I see Mrs. Barrick in the back. I'm sure she was in the same boat I was with my child, with multiple societies. So I think we do need to take a look at this, and I do thank you, Mrs. Barrick, for bringing this. It's probably something that kind of slipped by us. So. But I do think we need to take a look at the societies versus the clubs and possibly look at them a little different. And then maybe that cap might be something we have to look at again during our budget season to figure out what the best thing we can do to try and offset some of the payments that families have to make. Because I spoke to another child that's I've known for years, and they elected not to join honor societies because they couldn't pay the fees, which was kind of heartbreaking because that child would have qualified for at least as many as my child, but chose not to because the family couldn't afford the fees. So it's definitely something I think we need to take a look at during budget season when we talk about expenses and things like that.
Jen, if a student is on what used to be called free and reduced lunch, or I'm not quite sure the exact terming now, is there like a system in place that allows families who might struggle with payments to still be able to join? Because I know we have that with like athletics and stuff.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yes. So Christine could maybe speak to it a little bit more clearly than I could in terms of if it...
They usually reach out.
We're not used to this new setup yet.
The high school usually reach out to us and talk it over with us, and we will waive or reduce the fees.
Perfect. So there is I guess that's kind of important, I guess. For the
So there are options for families, and I think, you know, to Dan's point, to hear that a student chose not to go for it because of that reason is disheartening, because there could have been an opportunity for us to reduce or waive a fee.
So Jen, just because, so, you can't hear me anyway.
I feel like I'm so far away from your shirt.
I know, we're so far away. I feel like I could bust into a song right now, but, yeah, nobody wants to hear that. So, I mean, we've talked about this, Dan, we've talked about this for years. We've
Yes.
talked about this. So it's nice to kind of have it here in front of us. The only thing that, and again, I agree that we shouldn't have a charge for things like this. But with what we just went through with this budget, like how do we add another $20,000, almost $21,000 into our budget? Like before we can vote on anything tonight, like I think I need to wrap my head around like how we gonna pay for this.
And I think, Shari, to your point, there are, I mean, as I said earlier, the clubs, the societies themselves also fundraise. So there are other expenses that are going out there that are not even included in this document here. It could be that we institute a cap just for the societies. So maybe we say it's a $100 cap for honor society payments, and there's no cap for other clubs. That would probably be my recommendation, just because I think clearly we couldn't make up the whole 21,000. We would have to kind of find somewhere in the middle, and knowing that we were able to collect 9,500 last year with that cap in place for the honor societies makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. But you're absolutely right. Like it needs to be a part of the bigger conversation about fees and how we're subsidizing some of our offerings.
Right, so what would the vote actually be for tonight?
We don't have to vote on anything
okay.
tonight. It was,
All right.
if we felt the need, it's always better for us to have the word on there.
Okay.
Because then we can choose to vote. And otherwise, if you guys wanted to vote and it didn't say vote, you wouldn't be able
Right,
to.
okay, yeah, I just wanna make sure, because I think
Yep.
we definitely need more information.
I think the other thing too, and this is where I like to see the numbers, but unfortunately, this number is a little bit skewed because last year it had the cap. So this year, for example, if you're in 6 honor societies, it's $300. So the numbers are going to be higher
Yeah,
going into next fiscal year because there was no cap. So that's the one thing I didn't like to see. And I know we don't have this year's numbers, so don't, I
Yeah.
appreciate the work, but, we're gonna be closer to covering because we didn't have a cap.
right,
So, but I honestly think we need to look at, obviously this is part of the budget process, but looking at these as, maybe society versus a club, because we have, clubs that are, whether it's DECA or Best Buddies or something like that, where, they have the fee as well, but, they're different. Because, and Benson, I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but Best Buddies, anybody could join, correct?
Yeah,
For the most
anyone
part.
can join Best Buddies. We do have requirements that they have to meet academically, like behaviorally, but there's also no fee to join Best Buddies.
Okay.
I think another thing, just to kind of keep it, because I totally agree with you, like, the numbers are gonna be a little skewed for this year coming up, but I think another thing we gotta kind of pay attention to is the stipends that we're paying to have, teachers and staff, obviously oversee these societies. We're also, teacher negotiations here, so you're probably looking at, if I had to guess, those numbers probably going up a little bit as well, to, fit with the COLA and everything else we're doing. So, I think we definitely need a few, some more information on what this year would look like. But yeah, I think everybody, I probably can speak for a little bit, like, where it comes to an honor society, it feels like you're academically, you did it, you made it, and it feels kind of, I don't know, creepy, weird. Like, it's just like, it's odd that we're charging someone for being academically successful. That's what we want, So I totally get it. I can, it's definitely a little tough one here.
Punitive?
Perfect word, good job.
And I just had, so the National Honor Society, there's no fee for that.
Correct.
The school, the district covers.
We cover it, yeah.
Covers all of it for
Yes.
those, for that
Yeah.
particular one. And is that just like a thing, or is that statewide, or is that?
I think it's just a thing, right, Ethan?
Yeah, I mean, it's the oldest honor society, it's one that was here before the subject-specific ones, and I think that it's just kind of had that place of honor that has not now required.
It was probably the
I
original
didn't know
one,
if it
and we
was,
added the rest.
I didn't know if it was like a state thing, like it was like a law, I don't know.
And you know what, Justine, I actually, and I don't know a lot of the history behind it, and you might know better than I do, but my guess or assumption is that these started out as clubs in most places, right? It was, you know, the math club, the art club, something along those lines, and the students paid fees, and then therefore they, you know, over the time, they transferred it, or, you know, kind of took that transition into a more formal honor society. So that would be my guess, because I know if you look back at old contracts, we joke sometimes about like some of the things that are in there for stipends. Like we haven't had majorettes at the middle school, and I don't know how long, but it's still in the contract. So those are the things I think that probably have been, you know, kind of changed over the years. But Mr. Cersey also just reminded me that a lot of our students that are in these honor societies are also paying fees for AP exams. So just something else for us to consider. And that is the responsibility of the family.
Ethan, I mean, we have 10, it looks like 10 honor societies. I don't ever remember having 10 when I was in school. That was also a long time ago, but nor would I probably be in them. So, however, what do the other schools have? I know you said we have the most. What's around the average?
The majority have just one additional, so like 50%, or sorry, I should say 50% of those 16 respondents, again, small sample size, had one additional one. That was Tri-M, almost across the board. That's the Musical Honor Society. And then there were 2 other schools that had an additional one, but 75% of schools have less than 3 additional honor societies after National Honor Society. So there aren't too many. Many of them do have, as we said, math club. I know there's only been one honor society added since I've been here in the last 6 years. That was Business Honor Society, and that was really just at the initiative of a student who said, you know, there's so many students taking advantage of the business program. We deserve the recognition that we should have, just like the other departments, and they just kind of formed it. Got the national chapter or sort of authorization, and then started the Honor Society. And I think that's how almost all of them began. I think Kim Burkett, who was a teacher here, said she started the English Honor Society, so that's like 15 years ago or so. Before that, there were only a few. So I think they, like you said, they're kind of clubs. People want the recognition, and that's how it kind of becomes part of our club or our Honor Society culture.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, as we shortly enter into our budget season, I think this has to be something on our radar, and I think we have to look at doing something different with the societies versus the clubs. As much as it might be a little bit more legwork for the business office, but we have to take a look at it, because I think it is, especially without the cap, it is a huge expense, because then you tackle, you know, you have this early in the fall, and then, you know, in the spring you start your AP, and actually you have to pay for the APs right before. So I mean, you're out. I know my high school student, I believe it was about $600 in a matter of a couple weeks for the fees for this and AP. So ties in with our athletic fees too. So, but yeah, I think we have to definitely take a look at it.
And this, Christine, this is probably a question for you. If we instructed the teachers who are, you know, being the the leaders of each society, for example, the National Business Honor Society has 42 kids, 42 times 50, $2,100. Could we include, so instead of doing, I know they all fundraise, but like, could we make it that instead of saying you owe us $50, could we say you have 42 members, we're adding $2,100 to your fundraising? Do you see what I'm saying? So like that way it's not directly coming from the parents, but they know their fundraising goal in order to pay, hypothetically, $0. They're going to have to donate their time doing something. And managing that whole, I don't know how that would all work.
The fundraising is for the student activity portion, which is a separate account. So this is a club which serves as like part of our revolving account, and those are all very small, like subsidiary accounts within it. The fundraising is different, kind of like how the DECA has a separate student activity account as well. So that is what they fundraise themselves. They pay for, at the student activity account, items they want. So, I don't know, I'm making this up, but jackets or something, you know what I mean? So it's just different because it has to be used for the purpose only of the student, not anything to do with the district.
Got it.
So no, don't do that way.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just like thinking like, if we added that to
Being
their bottom
creative,
line,
yeah.
like, hey, in some societies might be like, well, we're not doing any more fundraising, we're just gonna charge people $50. You know, and then others might say, hey, you know what, if we all go down there and do this, we don't gotta pay $50 out of our pocket, was all. But that obviously makes sense. Any other questions? Ms. Barrett, would you wanna say anything, or?
I have a real quick question. Where'd you come up with the number of 42 people in the business?
That was what was on our paper.
Last year.
Do I get a copy of that paper?
I'm happy to share it with you.
I was just curious, I just asked Mr. Cersey if we know how many students.
Can you just do, I know this is procedure, please.
Sorry, I'm usually loud enough. But
Yeah, I hear you.
What we have in front of us, Mrs. Barrick, is the numbers from last year. Actually, I'm gonna give you a different one because this one's wrong.
Even better.
No, these are my updated copies. So these are last year's numbers.
Cool. I was.
Will you just state your name and where you live, please?
Melanie Barrick, 26 John Scott Boulevard.
Thank you.
I was just asking Mr. Cersey if we had an idea of how many students are actually involved in honor societies. And real quickly, hang on one second. 2, 4, 8, 7.
So if you don't count the National Honor Society, it's like 450.
Yeah.
That's the number I'm looking for.
Like
So
that, yes.
456 times 50 is roughly, with quick math, $23,000. So in theory, the charging of the fees covers the stuff and all the things, which makes perfect sense.
But remember, those numbers are based on last year where there was a cap. This year there wouldn't be a cap.
Right, no, but I'm saying if you multiply it by the
Yeah.
50, eliminating the cap, then it at least covers the expenses, that's what I'm saying. But it was just more again, on behalf of all of the senior parents this year who are getting nailed with this one. We have a lot of kids who have worked very, very hard throughout their entire academic career to get to where they're at, who are literally choosing not to pay their fees and will not get the honors that they have worked hard for their entire high school career, because it comes down to, in my house, we're writing a $450 check because my kid busts her hump. There are about 20 families in the graduating senior year who are going to write checks the same size as mine. I don't know about the rest of them, but you've got a solid group of kids in this class that are 8 and 9 Honor Society kids. That's a really, really hefty sum on top of 3 and 4 AP exam fees, on top of all of the athletics and everything else they do to bring notoriety to this town, all the places they go and things they do that, represent Norton. And it just seems a little cheap. Don't hear that, that sounds really bad. Rewind. There's not a person sitting at this bench that doesn't feel the pain. I get that. There's not a person in this room who doesn't give everything they can for the students of this town. So please hear and understand that. But as the parents were sitting there going, as Mr. Sheedy, I'm sure you did as well, when all of those tests came due at the same time as the fees, and we all sat there and said, ugh.
And I only have a junior, so.
Yeah, well, and it's lovely to consider amending this for next year, but then it looks like the class of 2025, so they got shaft. So we figured it was at least worth trying to see if there was some consideration to make us perhaps capping the fees just for the seniors this year, so that, and maybe cap it at 200 instead of 450, at least to help alleviate some of the burden on the families. Maybe that's some sort of a concession that could be made to make it worth something to them so that the kids wouldn't have to make the choice. And that they'd get to be honored for the things that they worked hard for. So that was just one of the things that we were hoping that would be considered, and thank you for sharing the numbers. Like I said, I just asked Mr. Cersey if he had, and I was like, I don't know, but there's gotta be a quick way to do that math. So the good news is
we brought them.
We have enough smart students, and with the set fees, we can cover the cost, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. But again, it just feels a little, not that it feels personal, because again, nobody here's into, it's not that, don't hear that, but.
And unfortunately, that's the hardest part, is when you're looking at a $3.4 million budget deficit, you are literally turning over rocks and pebbles and trying to find any way that you can to make it work and to not cut another staff member, so it's,
And there's-
and trust me, none of it feels good.
No, and there's not one thing that we can do that isn't gonna affect the students, so this is just another one of those things, but we figured we'd at least bring it up, so there it is. Thank you so much for your time and attention, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Um, So I guess we don't need to vote, we just probably, should we table?
We
Or we don't have to do
we
that?
don't have to, touch it. We just have a discussion, and we can say that we'll visit as part of the budget process if you'd like.
So
So
can we
we'll
just, can we
obviously-
just go back for 1 second, like just what Melanie said, is there anything that can be done for this year at all, or no, we're just, there's nothing that we can do?
We can look at it a little bit more closely.
I mean, I don't wanna put anybody on the spot, I just think that, you know, like I said, we've been talking about this forever, and I completely agree with what Melanie said, like, I feel like we're penalizing these kids who have really worked hard. So I'm just, no, I don't wanna add more work to your plate, but maybe it's just a good idea to just kind of run some numbers and see if there's a
We'll look at it a little
way.
bit more closely and see if there's something that we can do.
Yeah.
As I said, it's a very tight budget year.
I
and
know, I know,
it's-
I know,
None of it feels good, none of it,
yeah, I know.
none of it does.
I just figured it's worth asking.
Thank you, Sherry.
All right, moving on. Any last item, nice. Any other business that people have?
No.
All right, so seeing none there, we obviously just adjourn as normal and then we go into. So we do have a, just so everyone knows, we do have a joint meeting with our select board and our finance committee to kind of start the FY '26 budget. So we'll be doing that at 7 o'clock, so we've got a little bit of a break here. But if, well, welcome to stay if you want, but we all know how that goes. So I will entertain a motion to
Yeah,
adjourn.
just before we, just a reminder, I won't be at the next meeting. Just
Thank you.
remind you.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
My man said you're doing good today.